Last week, one of the best law schools in the country did something I think it's going to regret. UC Berkeley School of Law banned AI in student work. For anything where you turn it in for a grade, a Berkeley law student can no longer ask ChatGPT to brainstorm a paper topic, suggest an outline, draft a paragraph, tighten when they wrote, or fix their grammar. On every exam, it is a total blackout. You can't even upload your own course readings into a chatbot to help you study for them. And so the internet, of course, debated this. One group called it brave, a school finally protecting real thinking in an age of slop. The other camp called it backwards, a faculty trying to legislate the oncoming tide. Now, normally when the internet has one of these fights, as they do every day, I'll say it doesn't really matter to you because you don't run Berkeley and you can't write their rules. But I actually have a pretty strong opinion on this one, and I think you need to hear it before you apply to law school. Berkeley clearly got this one wrong in a way that's going to quietly cost their own students, the people the policy is supposed to protect, because the legal profession is moving really fast. And a school responding to that change by walling off its students from the most important tool in the profession, it's not shielding them from the future. It's preparing them for a job that no longer exists. I'm not saying that you should have AI write your papers, of course. I'm not saying that reasoning doesn't matter. Reasoning matters more than ever before. But what I'm saying here is a bit more narrow. The lawyers who do the best over the next 10 years are not going to be the ones who ignored AI. They're going to be the ones who learned how to master its use, who use it in combination with their own reasoning. And the place you're supposed to build that mastery safely under supervision is law school. And Berkeley turned its back on that responsibility. Now, what the policy actually says in plain language, I'm going to share with you today. I'm also going to talk through why banning AI is the wrong answer to a real problem here. And I'll talk about what a smart law school should be doing instead. Let's talk through the policy itself, not just the headlines. Berkeley released the policy just this past week. It is the school's default policy for every student. And they say, quote, students may not use generative AI for conceptualizing, outlining, drafting, revising, translating, or editing anything submitted for credit. They're not just saying that AI can't write your paper. They're saying AI can't be anywhere near your paper at any stage. You can't use it for brainstorming or to suggest an outline, or to draft a paragraph summarizing a legal rule, or even to fix your grammar. You can't use it to translate your own paper into English if you wrote it initially in another language. And that's going to land hardest on international students or first-gen students who lean on these tools to clear a language hurdle, not to skip the thinking process. You can't even upload your own readings into AI or class recordings into AI. And on exams, of course, no AI for any purpose. All you can do is use AI to point you toward a source, like find me a case or find me a statute, but you've got to personally verify every word of every single one. Now, you still can use it as a tutor or for self-studying or for quizzing yourself. The school even lets courses built to teach AI fluency, but what Berkeley did is a bit stranger than that. It's weird. They're saying you can use it as a study toy, but you can't use it as a professional instrument. You can let it tutor you on the law, but you can't actually practice using it the way you're going to use it the day you start your legal job. Now, the person behind this policy is a professor named Chris Hoofnagel, and he's kind of at the center of this story. Now, he runs the school's Center for Law and Technology, and so you would have thought he'd be the guy defending AI in legal education. So that's kind of weird. I mean, right there in the text, Berkeley is admitting that future lawyers will need to use AI fluently. Then in that same breath, they say that thinking is the thing that cannot be outsourced, and so you can't use AI. This Professor Hoofnagel is saying he wants the best possible paper the student is capable of producing on their own. But there's a contradiction there because everyone uses tools to produce work, right? It's like, well, using a keyboard, using the internet, those are also tools. You're not producing them in a vacuum. You're using books when you research, right? You're not producing that in a vacuum either. So you are using tools. And so I think there's this misunderstanding at the core of the new Berkeley policy. And it's a problem because junior lawyers are supposed to grind They're supposed to produce in volume and supposed to analyze a volume of text. And so they're summarizing, they're reading, they're drafting things, they're using templates for their work. And so a huge fraction of what they do is generating text and producing volume. That is what the billable hour was built on. And AI does that very thing. And so the lawyers who are going to succeed the most in the new technological era that we're entering, they're going to be the ones who have the ability and the power to wield these tools well. I'm not making a prediction about 2030 or 2035 here. The major legal research platforms are already shipping AI features that draft and summarize. If you ignore those, you do so at your peril because the clients certainly want you working more efficiently. And so you've got to start learning how to use these tools now. And I think Berkeley is setting themselves up for failure, setting their students up for failure, and they'd be well advised to reconsider. And I wouldn't be surprised if a year from now they totally change their tune on this. In the short term, though, I would definitely think carefully about whether to go to a school like Berkeley. I would instead consider law schools that are embracing the use of this technology. And if you want to maximize the options you have available to you when you apply to law school, you want to have more options. The clearest path to have those options is to have a higher LSAT score. When you get a higher LSAT score, you can get into better law schools, you can get more scholarship money, you maximize the choices you have available to you when it comes time to put down a seat deposit. And so if you want my help getting that higher LSAT score, I'm happy to help you out. I'm offering a free LSAT tutoring lesson for everybody watching this now or later. The link to book that free tutoring lesson with me personally is unpluggedprep.com/start. The link is below this video on YouTube, pinned in the chat on YouTube, in my bio on TikTok and IG as well.